So if you can confirm you're able to see my screen. Can someone confirm, please? Yeah. Thank you. Today's session is it's going to be kind of just a walkthrough on Selenium framework. So what we generally use in the real world. So when we actually start working in this companies, so we follow some kind of frameworks, as I said. Uh, so for that, but before that, I'll just give some documentation, some references for the Selenium. So what you have to do is just go to Google and just type Selenium download. So wherever we are doing, right, so go to that website, and onto this website you would see a documentation link. So click this link, and then here you would have this complete documentation about Selenium. So what was Selenium, this thing, so you can go through this code. And then you have different languages: Python, Java, C Sharp, Ruby. So these things you can click and you would get that particular code. So Java code, so basic stuff of what we have it here. So you can check this documentation in your free time, and you would get some codes as well. So uh, this is the initial thing. And after this, so here you have different links. So out of this, this Selenium ID, as I said, this was some overview if you want. So you would get some details here. You can go through these things, you can read in this if you want. So here we have WebDriver. So we are doing Selenium WebDriver, right? So you just click on this Selenium WebDriver thing, and then here WebDriver related documentation. So what Selenium WebDriver is, what are these things, how, what is get started thing. So you can read all this stuff if you are interested in, to see if you need some uh, basic information initially, like how and all. So all complete documentation if you need, you can uh, get it on this particular page. So, so installation of Selenium library, browsers, first Selenium script. You can just go on and then check this thing. So here you would have this complete detailed information here. And then you see find element to what they do, and description on this, what that find element is and all. So you can find it this way. So here you have the code, basic code also you would get it. And yeah, so you can just go through these things. So here you have driver related browsers, so driver options, and then you have browsers, Chrome specific and all these things. And then weights, Selenium weights we did, right? So implicit weight, explicit weight, and then the code to that you would find it here. So explicit weight, what explicit weight is, and what on what conditions we use, all those things. So in this documentation, if you refer, you would get this details. So you just go to Google and just type Selenium download, and then come to this, select documentation, and you would get all this complete documentation, detailed documentation. So what is finding web elements, how, what are the locator strategies. So all this have, whatever we have explained, we have learned. So you would get it here. So you see locators ID, class name, we have name, link text, partial link text. That complete details you would find it here. And yeah, this is about the documentation. And also if you want, I'll just share this in the chat as well. And also, like, any doubts you have, so you can reach out to me on my personal email address, which I would say it is pradeep@gmail.com. So here, any doubts, any issues you have in this, you can reach out to me on my personal email. and yeah, I'll see I can figure out. So this is about the documentation part. Now let's move on with the automation code. So Selenium uh, framework, when I say, so framework would be what? Here there are many framework, keyword driven and data driven and hybrid in the sense combination of both keyword and data driven. So we have something called uh, POM, page object model. So page object model is what page object model is. So it is a design pattern. So this is a design pattern wherein what this page object model specifies is, so whenever you have an application, so let's say Orange HRM, right? Orange HRM. Login. So you have this Orange HRM. So you have this application, right? So how we can actually frame this in our this framework particular thing is, so page object model is nothing but whenever you have an application, so in this application whatever pages you have, for example this is your login page, right? And then once you click this forgot password, so this is your forgot password page. Similarly, once you logged in, you get what, just let me log in. So once you log in, you would get some other screen. So this you can call it as a home page, home screen, something like that. And then click this link. This is what leave page, leave related this thing. And similar way, my info. If you click this, this is my info page. So all these different pages, so all these elements, whatever you see, if you want to deal with. So what page object model specifies is whatever the in the application, whatever the pages you would have, it's better to create a different each individual class for the pages. So whatever application pages you would have, that you need to create class. So which is you had one login, right? So initially, so login page you had, so for that login class you need to create login class or login page class, you can say. Likewise this one, so forgot password you have, so forgot password you can create forgot password page class, something like that. So and then in this classes, what you should be doing when you create, normally how do you create class? Right click on the project and then in some package you can create class. So when you create class with this particular names, this pages, so this particular classes or pages should hold the properties or what the elements of the of that particular page only. So for login, it should have what? Username, password, and login. So whatever element, with whichever element we would interact with, so those particular element object is what you can keep it in this particular classes. So in this page class, so login, in login, now on this login page, what we would do, we would enter username, we would enter password, and we would perform click on login. So these three elements, right? So first we need to find these elements. How would you find? Again, with whatever properties you have learned. So with ID you can find, with XPath you can find. So whatever locator it is, so find that element and just find element, don't do anything. So here you got name, right? So this name thing, what you can do is you can in this particular class you can create uh, a locator with a name, a username as a element, and the property is name, by dot name something, right? So by dot name, with this name is what you can keep it. So same way, other password, if it is there, password you would have for a login button. If you say login identify this thing. So I'll show you more detail, but only thing is you just understand the high level thing. So for high level, what I mean is, so page object model is nothing but for each pages we create different class, is what I just want to say. So that is page object model, and then here we have page object model, that too with hybrid driven, is what our framework we can say. Page object model hybrid framework is what which we are doing it. And then in this framework we are using what, Maven as a project, Maven, and then Maven project we have created. We have form.xml file, and we use testng as a unit test framework, basically Java as well, right? So these three things. So in this, if I show you my framework, so what you can do for that framework thing, basically I have designed my own framework when I was practicing. So kind of yeah, somewhere I have referred it, and then based on that I have just created the same framework. So that framework you can find it on GitHub. So what you do is just search with my name, Pradeep Tawalji, GitHub. So you can search on Google, and then you would get this github.com, this with my name. So you see this GitHub. So click on this link. So you would get this GitHub thing. So over here you would have a repository. So as I said, repository is what, again, or whatever code we write it in our local, we just want to store it at some particular location, right? So I have used GitHub to store my code. So the code here is, you would have this. So under repositories thing, you would find what all repositories I have created, like Cucumber, TestNG, Selenium framework, and all here. So in the overview, just as soon as you go it here, you would find which I've pinned it. So you can refer this framework, updated Selenium framework is what just now recently I've updated this framework. So click on this, and then you would find this complete source code. So the complete code. So this code, what you can do is just say here, go to click on this code, and then you can clone this through GitHub. And I would just recommend you can, since you are just referring it, so download a zip file. Click on this, download a zip file. So this complete code would be zipped in a file. As soon as you click, so that zip file gets downloaded, and then you can open that zip file. So that complete code, you would get it here. And then this code, once you have it here, what you can do is in your Eclipse, go there and just right click, select new, or select import, since we want to import the project, and then click on this import button. And then where do you want to import it from Git? If you want, you can do it this way, but I don't want through Git. I have that is a Maven project. We have pom.xml, right? So go to the Maven thing, and then here you would have existing Maven project. You can select, say next, and then root directory. So give the path of that pom.xml file. So pom.xml file is here. So wherever you have downloaded, wherever you have zipped it, copy this thing and then paste it here. So once you enter it, so here actually when you unzip it, you would get it. So I haven't unzipped it. Wait. Yeah. So this is the zip file, right? Right click on this zip file, extract to this particular location, I would say. So I have this code here, and then this pom.xml, right? So this thing, now I will take this, paste it here and hit enter. Then you would get this pom.xml. So click on this pom.xml, and then just say finish. So that project would come here. So since I have already had that project, that's why it's giving some error. So yeah, you can just click on this pom.xml and then you would get that framework, this complete framework in your local code. And then you can just refer it. So here, once you open that, you would get this framework this way. So you would have all these things. So whatever you see, so here's src source folder is there, right? So in source folder, since it's a maven, again they have created two main. So that maven structure which we have seen, so that structure is what source, main java we have, main resource we have, and test java. So there are three source folders in that particular. So different company follow different framework, different things. So we just have to work accordingly, whichever framework they have. So we need to understand that framework and then add the test cases. Or sometimes we have to uh, just work on a maintenance project wherein the test cases were already uh, designed, were already there from many months or years, and then you just have to execute it and see if something failure is there. You just need to fix it and update that. So work would be depending on which project you are, which company you are, and then yeah, you would get it. So here uh, this thing. So if you have this framework, so how we can go through the framework in the sense. So you would know, okay, you if you have pom.xml and in Java, so it is a page object model thing. And the Maven project is there, and testng, which means testng.xml is also there. So we have, which means we can understand they have used testng as a unit test framework. And so if we go through this each components, so first thing what I would suggest is we'll just see what is written in src main java. So this we have three different source folders. So this how I had designed this framework was, so any code that we write it, so Selenium framework related code. So if I open this thing, so you would have different packages, which is like core, driver, helper, reader, report, utilities. Some sort of packages are there. So what type of code do you generally store in src main java is, so generic code, the basic code, which is like not a project or the application dependent. So it is independent of the application. So whatever code, like for example, when I say uh, project independent or the application independent, so for in each application you would need a different code. Like to open a browser, you would have general actions like open browser. You would do uh, reading some data from an excel file, rewriting data to an excel, and then uh, reading the configuration related file, writing some common methods in the sense like driver.find element. So click, send keys, taking screenshot, all those things are common in all the applications, right? Even in different application, we would need this utilities, right? So this particular kind of code is what we generally keep it in src main java. And src main resource, we would just keep some file, configuration file related. So whatever in this project, whichever file we would need, so excel file, let's say, or the configuration related file, or the images, pdf, whatever file it is there, so in resources folder is what it is recommended to keep those things. So here if you see some properties files, some excel files, some configuration related files is what I have kept in resources. And then next comes the test java. So in this particular resource uh, source folder, we keep our actual test cases. So this test cases and this resources file is not dependent on all of the applications, right? So it would be different for different applications. That's why this things is not added in the main java. But uh, like opening of browser, closing of browser, common methods, send keys, clear, and then reading excel file, writing something to the data, reports thing, and utilities. So all this is common to all the applications. So that part of code is there in this main java. So test java, again, this test java is what it is divided into two parts. One is me expand. So here you just ignore this copy thing, copy package. So here one is page objects and the other is test. So there are two packages basically here in this. One is page objects. So what page objects means? So just like we had this page object model design pattern, right? So we had followed this pattern, same design pattern, saying okay, we have created two different packages wherein these page objects would hold this particular class. So we have different pages, right? So like login, we have forgot password, we have landing screen, we have register page. So different pages, whatever pages you would have it. So we create different classes, and then once we create a different class, so for example, we have forgot password, right? So forgot password, and then so forgot password.java. In this, what code we write here is uh, so whatever the functionality. So let's say our application is this demo webshop.login, and then here we have register, we have login, we have this thing. So different pages when we get, we can create different classes, and here we have forgot password. So click this forgot password, and then you have this different page again. So for this, what element do you interact here? So you would enter your email, right? So this element you would inspect it, find it, and then so how would you find it? Right click, inspect. This is an input field with class as email ID you have. So you can use ID as email on this page. So you can say enter email address variable. So that part you just have to write it here. And then what action do you generally perform with that element is what also we need to write it in this page object class. So what action do we perform? Like with this particular element, we send the keys, right? So that particular action. So here like passing data to email address field or send keys to the email address field is what we write that action, and then we write code. So driver dot find element by dot ID or name, and then dot send keys of the value what you want to enter. So that action we generally perform here in this same class. So after we perform that class actions over here, so in our test cases, we generally kind of call those actions. So I'll show you more detail. But before this, let's jump onto the again basic this code. So about core package. So what is there in core package? So if you see there is base class. So what this base class means? So if you open, you would see there is something called a base class is created, and then you have some sort of code. What is this code? If you go through, so you would understand, okay, they have given public web driver thing, they have web driver they have defined, and the driver name, web driver name they have given as driver, and they have used before class as a annotation. So this is what test ng we already have gone through, right? So at the rate before class, so we have this before class, which what it does, it opens browsers. So it opens browser. So for open browser they have given one annotation, and then this method what it is doing is it opens the browser based on what parameter we pass. So where are these parameters coming from? At the rate parameters. So again this is of test ng. So from test ng file these parameters are coming. So whatever value this particular variable would hold, based on that it kind of tries to execute this. So what is an next step? If you see, it is something called excel class. So data reading excel, and then the path. So src source main resource excel file app login dot xlx. So which means in resources folder, so here resources, and then excel file, right? This is excel file. So excel file folder, inside this app login.xls, app login.xls. So if you try to open this, open with system editor. So if you open here, you would get it. So this is an excel file wherein it has username, it has password, it has some columns, and then data in it. So username and password is set here. So this Excel file contains username and password. So that is what it is referring. And then here there are some if else statement. If browser is equals to Chrome, so browser type. So this value, if it holds Chrome, then it comes here. It executes this line of code. Else, if this browser type has Firefox as a value, then it comes here and it executes this line. So what is this line again? If you see, this is what? To open a Chrome browser. Chrome driver in the sense, so it opens Chrome driver. And we have used WebDriver manager.chrome.setup, right? So that thing we have given it here. And we have here Firefox. So same way, if that value is what IE, so it opens IE browser. So other browsers as well, if you want, if you can write else if all that statements. Else the default thing I am saying, okay, let's just open the Chrome browser. By default, if some other value is given which is not identified, I am opening Chrome browser. You can say, okay, instead of this, so invalid browser was mentioned, so kindly re-enter it, is what you can give the user message. But I am kind of giving, so whatever invalid value is there, I'm just trying to open execute our test cases in Chrome browser. So that's why I've given that else statement with Chrome browser. And then some log file. So log is what they are using. So logging is what logs are generally used to write something to a log file. So we use this log. So we use system.out.println, right? So that messages would be just printed here on the console. And when this console is closed or this is lost, then you won't have this report, right? Or whatever output you had got, you won't get. So which browser was open, what and all. So, but if you write that in some file, then that file you can open it. For example, if I have to show you here, debug logs here. So if you see, okay, at this particular time with this thing in this class, this was the method and it says opening browser, opening Chrome browser. So this is what the log would look like. So after writing that log, so the code would be there. You don't have to again uh, uh, write the code how to do log all this and all. So since you would be just joining as a new candidate into the organization, you just have to understand these things, whatever artifacts are there, you just have to use it. So code would be written once, like kind of how to log these files and how to log a report, how to create a report, and then browser and all this configuration. You don't have to do it again and again. It would already be there. You just have to understand, okay, if we give this value as this thing, then the code would execute this. So here browser is, they have defined it in this way. So whenever we give, if we want to execute our test scripts in Internet Explorer browser, then in the browser type we need to give value as IE, is what you just have to understand it. So this is how you can understand the code. And so log file. So whenever you want to log, what you have to do is just say log dot. So if it is information, you can say info. If it is error, you can say error. If it is debug, you can say debug. So likewise, that messages you can give it. So how they had written the code, what all things we have to do, so that you don't have to go too deep. Only thing is, if you understand, that's fine. Only thing is you need to know, okay, to log we need to use this particular syntax, this particular line. So here again, then extend, this is again reports part. I just don't want you to confuse too much. So you can say, okay, this is browser type that we are adding, and then some wait time, implicit wait 10 seconds. So implicit wait here, it is given 10 seconds. So later when you are executing and that 10 seconds is not enough, so if you want to change it to 60 seconds, so you should understand, you should know where that implicit time was defined. So you should come to this particular class, and here if you go through this code, here you would find, okay, implicit time, so it is 10 seconds, right? Okay, I want it 20 seconds, so I can come here and change it to 20 seconds. So this is how you can do the changes. And then so there are what, doing something, reading from this file, some extra codes and screenshot this thing. So next is what, after class. At that after class is what, it ends some reporting things. So this is related to reports. So Okay, this is one-time setup, so you don't go too deep for now. And then after suit, so zip file, so which means we are zipping some file over here, and then with the name as screenshot.zip. So screenshot, how to zip a file is what the code is written in this. And yeah, this is it here. Yeah, here again, now if you want to close the browser, what you can do is after execution here, if something is not written, so here you can say driver dot close is what you can write it. So after performing all that actions, so if you want to close the browser, you can use this syntax. And then after suit, so after once all the test cases have been executed, I'm just trying to close it. So this way also you can write it. So this is how you generally won't be doing any changes in the basic code. Only thing is in the test cases itself, you would be adding, identifying the locators, and then uh, writing the test cases, calling those actions, and then executing. So here, general code, how to open the browser. So base class would hold opening and closing of the browser. This thing, you can understand it in that way. What next package is? It is driver. So driver would have something called common methods. So with the name itself, sometimes you can understand, okay, this is nothing but some common methods that we are using. So what are the common methods? So like capture screenshot, like take screenshot. So how to take screenshot? So that code would be written once, you just have to use it. So they have did it, uses date, timestamp, and then src. So take screenshot driver, I've shown you, right, in our previous sessions. So how to take screenshot. And that thing here, file destination file utils dot copy file. So this whole thing, taking of the screenshot, is what it is written in this method. And later, wherever you need this screenshot part, you can call this particular method, which is there in common methods with the name take screenshot. So here I'm writing it in this somewhere. I've used it in the reports basically. And so what are the other methods, other common methods? If you see, one is take screenshot, other is what, find element. I have written this find element. So driver dot find element of this thing, I have created one generic method again. So this is not coming from Selenium. This is I have written my own find element method. So but internally what that is using, it is using driver dot find element again. So same way, find elements if I want. So I've created this method. And then send keys, if I want to send a value to any of that element. So I'm asking what element you have and what value you want to send, is what I'm asking. Two parameters from the user, some other third parameter which is description, so extra description, if whatever we want. So I'm saying what I'm doing inside the send case. So I'm checking if is element present. So if only if element is present, then I'm sending it. So if you see, if element is present, then only I'm doing something else. What I'm saying, throw new runtime exception. So I'm saying throw exception. What is that exception? So whatever element is there, it is not found, it is not there. So is what I'm just asking. So send keys method, send keys common thing is there. So clear. Uh, so clear, how to clear a text box field is what I'm asking. So which element do you want to clear? You just pass that. So if element is present, then how I just do send keys, element whatever I'm using it dot send keys. So this is coming from this dot send keys. This is coming from Selenium, but this send keys is what I have written. So I can say it is send keys instead of send keys, my own send keys, or my custom send keys. So custom send keys, I can rename it as. And then wherever in our class, if I need to send any value to the text box field, so what I have to do is common methods I have to call dot custom send keys is what I need to call it. So I'll just keep it the default one. I just don't want to change. So I'm fine with this name. Any name you want to give to your own methods, you can give it. And then that particular method only is what you need to call. And here we have click. So how to click is what I have written. And the next path we have written find element by text. So you can refer all this common code if you want. So some things are written here and some explicit wait. Some element is present code, compare with extend. So some common, so later apart from this common code, if you think okay there is something which is missing, so you can add it your own methods again. So other missing things would be like uh, what. So for now, I don't think something is missing, but yeah, anything later when you are working on, and if you feel like, so how to upload a file. So upload a text file is what you have. So you can create one custom method, uploading file, and then you can write that code, how to upload a file, and that you can use it in your project. So this is about common methods. And then helper is what? Some JavaScript related helper is what we have created, but have not written anything. So JavaScript related, if you have any code, you can write it here. And logger helper. So you see log files, how these files were logging. You see this debug log. So this thing, you need to get this timestamp, you need to have this thing, this method, this information and all. So this is done with this help of this particular logger file. So here we have used this some code here, and then with that it is doing it. So you don't have to go deep again, since you won't be doing it very frequently. So next, reader package would hold Excel file, some property file. So how to read Excel file, how to write something data. So all that common methods which we had, how to get number of sheets if we want, total number of columns if you want to know, we can use this method. If you want to check if sheet is exist or not, we can use this particular method. So the code is written in this way. So that code you can just refer. Get cell data, so some data if you want to get. So for that, what you want to do, you need to send to this method, you need to send which sheet you want to read, which column name, and which row number. So this is what you just have to understand. And then wherever you need uh, to read Excel and to get some data from an Excel, you just have to call this Excel class, then this data get cell data thing, and then pass these values. So this would return you the data. Same way for get cell data, get set cell data. So something set get is there. So this is Excel related code is written in this. Same way property file, how to read property file is what if you have the code is there in this. And then reports. So extent report is what I have used in my framework. So extent report, what that extent report is, yesterday I've shown you, right? About how we what this report would do, give us a nice HTML report with how many test cases were, complete test execution details, like how many test cases were there, how many passed, how many failed, some screenshots also if you want, and some extra details. So all that is actually done here in this class. So here it is before sort and then return some code. So this, if you want, you can go through, but it's okay. So we have that reports thing, and then utilities. What this utility have? So test ng listeners, some listeners I have used, uh, and then random data. So random data, if we need, kind of saying, okay, you want to get the current date and time. So if you want to get the current data and time, code is there this way, it is written, and you just have to call random data utility dot get current date time. So it would give you whatever current date time is there, it would return that value. So if you want to check, okay, here in this uh, class itself, I will check it. So how to check? So I would say random data utility dot get current. So here I can store this in some variable, or I'll just print it here itself. And now I can execute this particular class as a normal Java method because main method is there. So I've executed. Once I execute, you see 2022 10 11 12 41 seconds, milliseconds 785. So at this time when I executed, the time was this. Now if I'm executing again, so time is changed, right? Something. So if you see, instead of 41 seconds, now it's 11:13. 11:12 was passed, 11:13 is now 02 seconds. And this so wherever in your code, if there's a requirement wherein you wanted to get the current date and time, so this method is what you can call with this particular line of code. So like this, you just have to refer the code, see, and then uh, once you have got some little understanding of that, then you can actually move on to your test code. So zip file utility, how to zip a file is what that code is there, but that's fine. So once we understand that basic code, the next thing is configuration related files. So some configurations are there here, Excel file is there, and then our test classes. So page object model. So let's say I'll move on with this login class. So we have this particular page. So this application and login is this. So in this login page, so if you were interacting, or if you want to use this link or this thing, or if you want to check if this new customer is there or not, so you would inspect it, find it, right? So with whichever element you would interact with, you just have to find that path, and then come to your login page dot class, and inside this you write the locators. So how you write it, the locators here if you see, they are using by and then text email, so txt email. So this is element, so by dot name is what we are trying to find this thing. So this email, so here for a login I need email, enter something in this email, enter something in this password, and click on login button, is what our first test case is. Let's say if it is that way, what we do, so we would inspect this field, right? So right click, inspect this, and then here if you see name, you have ID as well. So come here, you can say by dot name or with this, or instead of name I want to use by dot ID. So you can use, instead of name, you can use ID, by dot ID with email. You can keep it this way, so whichever element you have. So if you don't have email, ID, and then xpath if you want, so by dot xpath. So by dot ID you can use, and that ID would be what, email, right? So from there we have got it. Else you have by dot name, so you can use name. By dot xpath, you can use xpath. So whatever it is there, so you have to write that code here. So this element we have found with name, let's say. Yeah, by dot name. So email ID text box field I have identified with name. Same way, password field I have identified with name. And login button, btn login is what button, txt is what, text password. So this is our own identification, for our own identification. So we write it here. This ID is okay, fine, and then password we have inspected, I've seen name, and then for login button I've seen this xpath, something I have used, so we can use this xpath. And then checkbox, remember me checkbox was there, link forgot password. So checkbox was there and forgot password. So I've identified the other extra elements as well if I want. And then once the elements are identified, what you have to do is, so what actions do you perform with this element is what you also have to write it in your page class. So login page objects class here itself. So you have to create method. So why to create method? Because we want to reuse this particular action in other classes. So we create method over here. So how to create method? So public void gives some method name. It is not compulsory to give this, but it's kind of in a framework if we are following. So previously whatever is there, we just try to continue it. So give a proper name wherein it says pass data to email field. So you can say pass data to username field, pass data, or else send keys, send text to email, send text to password, click button login, click link for forgot password. Like this, some names, some keyword driven keyword you can give it. So I have given pass data to email field. So I've created this method, and then this method, it accepting what value you want to pass is what I have just created. And then what I have did, so before passing some text, I am clearing it. Even if something is not there, I'm just still clearing it, backspace, and then I'm entering something. So clear is what first method I've called. So how to write clear? So generally we write code driver dot find element by dot xpath and all, right? So that is how we write driver dot find element by dot xpath, by dot id, by dot name, whatever it is, dot clear dot send keys, all that lines. But now all that lines we don't have to repeat it, because we have already created some common method with that line driver dot find element by dot send keys, right? In the common method, if you see, so driver dot find element is already there, and then send keys. So send keys is there. You see here, send keys, what it does, find element dot send keys. So this thing we want. So for this particular line of code, what you have to do is you have so for whenever you want to send keys to any of that element, you just have to call this send keys method. Where the send keys method is there, this is static, and this is send keys in common methods class. So here in page class, since you have to call it, so what you have to do is you have to call that method. So what is that where is that method? It is there in common methods. So common methods dot. So if you do whatever methods you have defined it there, those all methods would come here. So if you want get config, if you want get screenshot or capture screenshot, if you wanted to take screenshot, you can call this method. If you want clear, you can use click. If you want, you can use this find element. If you want to again do it here. So I want to first clear it, right? So drive this common methods dot clear, and then clear this method would accept two parameters. One is on what element you want to click, is what by dot element you need to send. So since this is an email field, I would say text box email. So I would say text box email, and then what value you want to send is what we have to give. So value, I would again call this method from somewhere else. That's why I'm not giving value here. Else, if you can, this is my username, email here. So you can even pass it here. But again, whenever you call this particular method in somewhere else, if you give it this way, it would, so this is clear. Clear won't accept any, sorry, clear won't accept any data. So clear field is only if it has located, that's fine. And then give some description. So saying, okay, I'm clearing field. So likewise, we give it here. And then after clear, I want to send key something. So I've called common method dot send keys to this text box email, and then value to this send keys. So if you see send keys, first one, it accepts element. Which element? By dot which element? I said text email. Then what is next parameter? String send keys value. What value you would give? So I'm saying user email, or instead of user email, here you can say user email, user ID. So here abc@gmail.com, something like this. Okay, so this value, but here I'm not hard coding it, because whenever I call this method, it would give us this value only. But sometimes when I call this, first time I might send username 1, email ID 1, second time email ID 2. So likewise, dynamic value, if I want to pass, I create parameter and then pass that parameter value here instead of hard coding the value. And then the next third parameter is what? Some description. What are we doing in this particular step? So in this step, we are clearing field. So this is steps. Actually, these steps are for your reports. So let's not go in deep. So once we check that report, I'll show you what this means. So to pass data to an email field, so what we did, we just cleared and send keys. So this methods, common methods were already there. We are just calling that and then sending our new locators. So this locators is what we are sending here, and then sending this value. Same way for password field, again, same thing you just have to do. Instead of sending email element, we send password element. Email element, we send password element. And then value user password. So this parameter, same way, this parameter what I'm sending. So message I'm saying clearing field, clearing password field, passing data to password field. So likewise, click login button. So for a login button to click, I just have to call click method, which is present already in common method. I don't have to write driver.find element login button dot click. I don't have to do all those things. So here I've already written some common method. I'll just call that click method, which is there in common methods. And then which element is what I just have to send, and then what action. So here I don't need some parameters. Reason, so for click button, you don't need to pass any value. So dynamically, whenever you call this method, it would click this login button is what we just want method. So that's why we did. So same way for remember me checkbox, if you want to click, call common methods dot click of that remember checkbox, and then this thing. So same way for forgot password. So extra methods as well, if you would do it. So some things, some fields you would use it, some fields you won't. But if now we have written 5, and going forward, let's say there is one more field, email, password, and one more confirm password later if they add. So one more element they added, right? So for that new changes, what we have to do is we have to come to this particular class, and here we have to create one by element, which is confirm password. So that confirm password would be again text box field. So same format we are following. So txt is what we write, and then confirm password is the element name, and then by dot how you would identify that element. So I would identify that through xpath, let's say. So by dot xpath, and then xpath is what I need to where is that field is what I just have to inspect. Let's say that confirm password is this field. So this field, right click, inspect, and then come here, take the id is there, you can take that, or xpath is there, you can write this. So since we have id, let's say id here, come here by dot id, we write that, and id value inside this is what we give, and then say that's it. So this is to find the confirm password field. And then how to perform action again. So to similar methods is what we create, public void pass data to our own methods. Also we can write it name. It's not compulsory to follow this only, but since it's a framework and they're following some standards, so it's better to follow the same thing. Else instead of this, I can say enter confirm password. I can say this one as well. And then how to enter. So before entering is what I'm saying, I would clear. So how to clear, I have common method for clear thing. So I would say clear common method dot clear, and this accepts some element. So by dot element, which element I want to clear. Since I am saying confirm password, so confirm password element is this. So I will come here, I would pass that element, and then clear, and some message here. So I'm clearing a confirm password field. I can say this way. And then this is showing error, so it throws declaration, throws exception is what I'm using. So clear common method, first thing to enter password, I'm just clearing if something is entered, and after that I can enter. So again in common methods, I have method called send keys. So this send keys again accepts which element you want to send the keys. I want to send it to confirm password. And then next parameter is what value you want. Confirm password, I can say ABC as my password, ABCD, and then this some message. So ABCD, again, I don't want to just hard code it. That's why what I do is I just create parameter here. So string confirm password value is what I'm asking for. Whenever this method is called, we need to send this value. So that value comes and sits in this particular place. and then it goes to the send keys. So in send keys, first field is which element it is there, and next thing is what value. So if you go to the send keys method, here element and value, so confirm password value would come here, and then locator by dot id with confirm password, so it comes here and then it does send keys and does some whatever basic code we have written over there. So that is how you can add further steps. And then once this page class, all the properties and the actions that you perform with this properties is written, then what you do is, to your test package, you create your test classes. So here I've just created a test class called smoke test. Other class you just ignore it. So smoke test, I've just created one class, and then I'm doing something here. So we have called login and created object for login page, because those are non-static. If you see this methods here, I've not declared static. This one method I've declared, but other methods I have not declared it as static, right? So to access this non-static method is what I have to create object. So this we have already learned in Java, right? So all those concepts would be basically used here. So in this, we create object of the login page, and then other pages also if we have, we can create. And then what I've done is basically I've created one method called invalid login test. So invalid login test is what my first test case is, and then it is doing something. So this is for reporting purpose, you can ignore. And this 2 lines is for getting the data from Excel. So we have that. So here, so this username and password, I am taking it from Excel, and in Excel, so get cell data, what that method is does. So it needs which sheet we want to read data from, and what is the column name that you want, and then row number. This 3 parameters is what it wants. So if you see this method, username, it is login. Login is nothing but the sheet name, and then column name is the username, and then row number is 2. So this thing, same way for password, if I have, so my sheet name is login again, and column name is password, row number is 2. So username and password is coming from Excel. And then next things. So what are the next things? So as soon as you open the URL, so you would get this particular screen, right? So in this screen, what is that? To go to login, first we have to click on login, right? So again, you have to inspect this page as well. So this is what your landing screen is, what we consider, or home page, or whatever page you say. So that page, so for that page, again, in the page class, you have to create with that particular thing. So here I have created login text. Since I just want to click on this login link, I have identified that login link with login text, link text, and then click on login link. I've created one method, and that method click method I've called from commons, and then passing that value. Same way for register link, if I have there, I've done this. So I have 2 different classes, 2 different pages. One is this, I'm saying landing screen, and next screen I'm saying as login screen. So after clicking on login link only, we get login page. So that's why in our test case, first step is to click on login link. So to click on login link, I've already returned the code. Here is what I'm just calling it. I'm not writing driver.find element by dot link text and then click. I'm not doing it here, you see. So with this particular framework thing, it is what gives us nice look, as well as for readability, it would be good maintenance as well. It would be done in a proper way. So here, if you want to click login link, this is what you just have to write, landing screen dot click on login link. And for email address, if you want to enter, so that is there in our login page, and login page we have created object. So login page dot pass data to username field or email field, and that value here we are giving it from Excel. So same way for password, and then click on login button. So these are my steps. So first test case is what? Clicking on login link, entering username, entering password, clicking on login button. So email is entered, password is entered, click on login button. That is what I've just written one test case. Okay. Now, once this test case is written, what you can do is, so how to execute? So to execute, so we can execute this from testng.xml file, right? Because this is at the rate test, and priority is also given, some description is given. These things are there, right? So to execute this, we can execute it from testng.xml. And here we are extending base class. So if you see extend, so this is inheritance property again. So to execute my test class, I'm saying, okay, before you execute, or even when you are executing this test classes, I'm calling this base class, and this base class would have what? Our browser. So here, first statement, first step is to just click on login link. But if there is no browser, let's say, if there is no browser and you're just trying to click on login link, would it click on login link? It says obviously failed because that page is not found, no such element or driver is not defined, all those errors we get. Because for this step to be performed, first we need to have a browser open with that application, then only it clicks. So for that, what I have done is I have extended base class, and in base class the code is written to open the browser, to open browser. And here, so this, whenever we call this method, we pass Chrome. If you want to pass Chrome as a browser, and then Chrome browser opens and application URL. So URL are, where are we giving? So here if you see driver.get of URL, and where this URL is coming from, URL is coming from get config of environment value, whatever it is. So get config. So if you see this get config here, what you would have, property file reader. So this property file reader is what? In src main resources config file config.properties. So if you go to config.properties file, inside this is what you have given URL. Now here you have defined dev environment, QA environment, staging environment, production, different environments we have for one particular application. So when developers are building, they use this developer environment. When QAs are using, so they have dot QA dot something like this. So test environments you would have. So dot dev dot this URLs would be like this. So dev environment, QA environment, production staging environment, production pre-prod, all those things we would have it here. So let's say we have this environment. So environments are defined here, and there is one more property which is screenshot required for past test step. So let's say I don't need a screenshot for past test case steps. So I said no. And then what is next? Here we have some extent config. So extent reporting thing I said, right? So again, reporting thing, if you go here, there is some dark theme, Selenium project, some documentation, some date format, some XML thing is written. And then log4j, that's fine. So we have test case, which is smoke test. But again, this smoke test, independently, this one class cannot be run because it needs browser to be open, and browser return thing we have done in base class. That's why we are extending this base class. And then now how to execute? You can right click and run the test ng class. So one particular test cases, so run button also you can do it. But when you do, you would get an error here. Yeah, error. Why that error is, if you see, so parameter browser type is required before method on that, but it's not marked as optional as well. So optionally we have not set. Now when we are executing this browser type, we are actually looking for. So here, when we are executing, here when we are executing, we won't, we don't get, we are not mentioning somewhere like we want to open Chrome browser, we want to open Firefox, all those things. That's why independently, even this class or this test case, we cannot run. So we are actually passing the parameters from XML file, which is our testng.xml. So if I open now testng.xml, here we have already gone through this test engine. So you have source, you have parameters, classes, class, this thing. And in class, I am saying, okay, to run my smoke test. So you see this smoke test, how to run. So you have package, this package dot. So this package dot, then class name I want to just execute smoke test. That's why I'm saying smoke test. And here parameters I'm giving, so browser type and environment. So browser type I'm saying Chrome. So if I want to execute this in Chrome, I give value here as Chrome. If you want IE, just say IE, and then execute it. So it would execute, the test case would get executed in IE browser, because the code to open that IE and all we have already written in base. So we don't have to write it again. So here you just give the value, and then it should, our script should work accordingly. So and let's say I just want Chrome for now, and then environment. So I can say dev environment if you want to run, or QA, I'm fine. So in configuration properties, I've defined QA is what, this URL. If you want to run, you give value as QA. If you want to run on this URL, give dev. If you want to run on this URL, give value as staging. So likewise, I've defined it here. So I'm fine with QA. So this is what our one test case. And listener, you just neglect it, it's fine for you. And now, so execute this testng.xml. So you can even right click and run this testng.xml, or so in POM file. So what I have done was, in this POM file itself, I would execute, and POM file, from POM file, I am executing testng.xml file. From testng.xml file, I am running this class. So in POM file, how we can run? So in pom.xml, in our project thing, I have used some code. So this code, this is one time setup, and you don't have to again understand too deep, but it's okay. So there's some build plugins are there to execute some XML file. We need this plugins. So compiler plugin and surefire plugin. We need these two with this particular values. And then here in suit XML, I'm saying, okay, testng.xml is what I want to run. So this testng.xml is on the same level. That's why I'm giving it here. So if it is under some folder, so that folder slash folder name slash testng.xml, I can say it that way. But here my testng.xml is under same location. So I don't want to go it. So the path directly is what name, file name, you can give it. So with this particular line and this object, again, this page object model, it contains the dependencies we have already discussed, right, in Maven. So Selenium server, it is taking this version. WebDriver manager, it is taking this version. TestNG, it is taking this version. Log4j and Apache POI. All, there are many dependencies that we need. So extend reports, mail, all dependencies are also mentioned. So if there are any other dependencies that you want to add, go to Maven repository, get that dependency, come here and add that dependency here, right? So this is our pom.xml. And now what I will do is to execute this, you just right click on your pom.xml file, go to run as. So first thing is Maven clean is what I prefer. So it cleans the target folder. So this has some files, but later, yeah, target folder is deleted. So build is success. And then right click. For the first time, if you are executing, I would suggest you to click Maven install. So it installs some dependencies as well for the first time. Even the other Maven test would also do it. But use it. So to execute maven install, you just say, and then it would the script gets executing. So what it does is it goes to your testng.xml. In testng.xml, which class you have said, in testng, again, whatever class you have said, what test case is there, so it goes there and it executes. So it's opening that URL, and now it would click on login button, email ID entered, password entered, and clicked on login. And then I said to close. So it has even closed the browser, right? So script is executed, and you have some print messages also which you have given, and this is done. So once the script is executed, so what you can do is you go to the, so testng.xml would give you default reports, right? So refresh, if I refresh it, test output, in this you would have something called index.html. I would open this index.html file for now. So here I just enter, and then this index.html. So it is default suit, one method, one skip, invalid login test is there, and then some error. So yeah, that error is what it was. Actually, this file should have been delete. Okay. So test folder, I would just clean it. Previous execution was, so previously whatever we executed is what it had stored. So I would again re-execute it to show this thing. So right click, run as, click on maven test. So it does the same thing again, executes your POM file. In POM file, you have said testng.xml, so it runs testng. Testng, you have set to run smoke test. So in smoke test, you have set to run test case. So it executes that test case. So open browser and then clicked on login, enter, it is close. Test were run, one, no failure, nothing, no errors or skip. And then now if you refresh, so you would get test output here. Not sure why refresh is not happening. That's fine. So I'm not getting that testng.xml, but again, that testng.xml, when you open, you would get this kind of report, and then what test case pass fail. But here again, even this report is not so clear. So instead of this, what we have done was we have used extent reports, and extent reports here, if you see where we are storing that extent reports. So extent report, here we are saying, so, and in this thing we are giving some file path. So new extent reports, so replace existing. So extent report file path, if you see, it is user directory reports my own report.html. So I have given this name. So under reports section, so here if you see, you would have something called reports, and that in that file the name is my own reports.html. So this file we get the report. So this report you can open, and whatever executions were there, you would get some details here. Now if you see, this is extent reports, wherein you get what was the test case name. So test case name, if you see, go to smoke test, and so test case names here you have given start test, you have said tc001 invalid login test case. So here we have got that test case 001 invalid login test case. So if you change it something here and execute, you would get I'll say I as capital invalid login test, and that thing, when you execute, you would get that name here. So this name is coming from this particular step, so you can give whatever name you want. And then what is next? So timestamp, this is at what time when you when it had executed. So all the timestamp is there, and details. So clicking login successfully, clearing field, passing data was abc@gmail.com to the email field, password field, and data was sent to the password field, and login button clicked is what they have did. So we have this we have all this test cases. Now this test cases, just 1 second, uh, I'll just mute it. Yeah, sorry guys. So yeah, so this report we already got it from here, and then so you have the steps whatever you have mentioned is coming from here, and this clicking login successfully, all these messages are coming from your method. So if you go to this pass data to email field, and in email field what are you doing? Clearing, and this clearing email field. So clearing email field is your value. So if you see clearing email field is what we have given. So this description, whatever we want in our report is what we are giving it here. So some kind of understanding what this particular step we are doing is. So clearing email field I have said, and then clearing password field, clearing this thing, clicking login link, clicking login element, something like that. So some messages, whatever I'm giving it here is what it is coming in the report. So if you want to change, you can change it over there. And then this is what dark and light theme. So this is dark theme and this is light theme. So we get the report title, Selenium project. So this is the title, and then Selenium automation report project. So this things is what all we actually have configured in our this thing. So extend config.xml. So here it is config. So you see this name if you want. Whatever application you are saying. So Orange HRM. So Orange HRM report is what you can say. Orange HRM title. Like that you can change it. So instead of dark, you want light theme. So you can say light here. So here you can say standard or dark. So that thing. So this way, and then there is something called if there are hundreds or thousands test cases and few are passed, few are failed. Now you can even sort that with this drop down. So if you want to see failed ones, click on this failed. So all that failed test cases would be shown. If you want pass, if you want to see skip, if you want to see clear all the filter, and then you would get all this. So this refresh thing is there, search functionality. So if I want to search with login test case, so I can search, I can say register test case is there. So if I want to filter, you can use all this features over here. And then here dashboard, so you can see how many test cases were there, how many steps were there, how many passed, how many failed. So this is, yeah, here. So six steps were there. One test case was there, and total time it had taken 9 seconds to execute. So start time was at this, end time was this, and then test view. So test cases passed, number of test cases failed. You would see a nice graph over here, steps with steps as well, and percentage of pass, and environment detail, like on which what was the username on which the script was executed, what was the OS, what was the Java version, host name, browser, and this thing. So you would have you would get this all these details. So since this we have configured in our project, that's why we are getting it. So now let's say, so for this screenshots, I want for each and every step. So for that, what we'll do is, since we have already written that code, we just have to come here, configuration properties file. There's one attribute, which is screenshot required for past step. So I said no, that's why it was not giving screenshots. So if I need screenshot, I would say yes here. So that code I have written internally. If you give yes, it should take screenshot. If you give no, it should not take that screenshot. So likewise, people generally do it, and then you would be using those things only. So now if I execute this form.xml, so after execution is what it should give us the report with screenshots as well, step-by-step screenshot. So for steps I'm saying. So login and then this. So test case was executed. It got passed. Build done. Now go and refresh your this thing. So you see, you have got screenshots as well for all the steps. And internally, this framework is also defined like we want screenshots only when the test case is failed. So even that is defined. So you don't have to bother it. So that is already there. So here, if you see clicking login link successfully. So if you open, so after clicking on login, this is the screen. Now here, if you see uh, clearing email field successfully. So it's actually doing it here. So pass data to email field. So you see abc@gmail.com is entered. At that time, it has taken screenshot. So pass data to password field. So if you see password field is entered and then screenshot was taken. And now clicking login. After clicking on login, I want to take the screenshot. So you see after clicking on login, you get this message. So this screenshot was taken. Likewise, this is how this framework is defined. So it is designed in this way, and then we have yeah, this is about reports. So this is how you just have configuration. So if you want screenshots, no, yes, you can write it. And the other thing, so yeah, here we have written close. So if you want to close or no, and the test cases. So test cases is what we have written one test case, right? With this thing. So let's say I want to, it is not required. If you need, that's fine. If you don't, you can remove it. And then let's say I want to create another test case. So instead of invalid, I want to write another test case for valid. So what I can do is public void login test case is what my name is, my test case name. And then how to do a login. Now since we can take this same steps again, I'll just copy paste this steps. It won't be changing much. So instead of test case, so test case name, so for this I'll say second, this is my second test case, and the test case name is login valid test case is what my test case name I've given. And then this is giving some error because throws declaration is what we have to add it, because the same thing, same way you just have to do it. And then data, username, password. So instead of calling it from this sheet, instead of this row, we can what give our own value. So here in app login, okay, open system editor, close. So I can, this is if you want, you can create in different sheet. So this is valid login sheet, you can say this way. And then username, password. So this I'll just copy it. You can mention maintain a different sheet. And then abc. So not sure if you have a valid password. So wait, let me see. First of all, so this sheet name is valid login. What I will do is here I'm giving Pradeep Tawalji at gmail.com. So you can register to that website and then give your proper login credentials. And then password, I'm not sure if it is correct or not. Let's say 12345 I'm giving something. Okay, and then saving it. So I have this Excel sheet with this thing. So for that, I'll say sheet name. So this is, first parameter is sheet name. Or here, if you say dot get cell data, next attribute, it is asking sheet name. So sheet name is this. And then Next attribute is column name. What is your column name? My column name is username only. And then row number. So row number is second row. From second row I want. The same way, valid login is my sheet name for password. And column name is password only. And then, yeah, it is 2. So username, password, it is coming, and then it clicks here, enters this, and this is my valid login test. And so to say it as test case, what you have to do is @test is what you have to define it. As I said, it should be coming from testng.xml. And priority, this is 1. And this, if you don't give, it is 0, which means before execution of this test case, it would execute this one. Right? And so what I want, so again, before @test, it checks before this some other test case is what it would get execute, right? So what I will do is, so this test case is there. Let's say I just don't want to execute this invalid one. Invalid one I have executed and it is working fine. So I can say enabled as a property, and then value I can give false. By default, it would be true. So if I give this property, now this test case won't be executed because I just don't want it. So I can even remove this tag. So even this would not be get executing. But if I keep this tag, and then we can give property called enable, which is false. So these things you get in testng, we have already done. So you can refer to testng.org file for documentation as well. And then here you would find it. So in this documentation parts, you would get this details. So you can go through what is before, after, these things, and then parallel, value, parameters. So all this documentation and sample code, they have already written. So if you want to understand in more detail, you can refer this documentation as well. So I'll just send this in the chart as well. So yeah, so this is about testng.xml and documentation of that. And now I'm not executing this. Only thing is I'm executing this test case, and then test case name, description, I've not given anything. You can give it if you want, and then do it. So once we have this, just say test case we have already defined. Now go and right click, execute. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. So test case is defined. So opening of browser, closing of browser is already done in the previous test cases. Build is failed. The process, okay, file is actually open. That's why it's not executing. So I will re-execute it. Install. Right. So earlier that Excel file was open, that's why it didn't execute it. We got that error. So I close that Excel and now it is executing. So opening Chrome browser, and then it should enter different username. So I've given my username with password, right? So see, even that actually the password was not correct, but if you have that password, you would the screen would be logged in, and you would get a logged in screen. Basically, you can see that. So this is how you can define derive another test cases. Now if you see your testng report, so here it has executed second test case, valid login, and this steps. So if you want screenshot, you can say yes in the configuration file, and you would get screenshots with this. And test steps, again the same thing. So this is it about framework, and about the framework. Yeah, so I guess I'm done with this framework explanation part as well. I've shared the documentation for Selenium and the Selenium thing, and testng org as well. Like if you want, you can refer this. So yeah, anyone else have any doubts they want to ask? So you can ask now.
Pradeep, what is Redmine?
What is
Redmine.
Red mine.
Yes.
Red mine in what, like what that word is? I'm not sure. So in what, under is it under testing? Is it under automation? Is it under framework, or what red mine is? So where did you got that word from? I'm not sure about red mine.
What about Junkin?
Jenkins. So Jenkins is
Yes.
what again? So this execution. So whatever we are doing, this execution, we are doing it locally in our system, right? So instead of this, like right click manually and then execute it, this test case, right? But Jenkins is what? It's uh, the all these configurations. For example, just to say in simple words, execution of our local code. So whatever this form file.xml is there. So if you don't want to execute that in local and from some server, if you want to run, so Jenkins is again a server wherein it provides us uh, the option to execute this type of code. So there we can create a job for Jenkins and then give this path, pom.xml path, and there if we just hit run button, start or run button in that Jenkins, so Jenkins would take care of execution. So there it would execute all this UI, whatever code we have written, it would execute and Jenkins would give us report. So Jenkins is again a different thing wherein we can execute our code from there. And this is like continuous integration tool, what we call generally, and wherein that again execution of our code, we can define it at particular intervals or whenever we do some changes and then in the repository. So some later few test cases we have added, and those test cases, if we want to execute it manually, if we want to do, we can do it. But instead of this manual intervention, so what we do is we can execute this automatically. So in Jenkins we can do that settings, and then whenever there is a new build, new changes there in the repository, it triggers the job execution and it executes the test cases. So Jenkins handles this all things, I would say.
Jenkins, Java user than Ruby or Python.
uh, Jenkins generally it's not that way. So Jenkins kind of it's a server, and in that server we would get login credentials and all, and then after login we just configure the report and configure just some do some configuration. That configuration is not specific to Java or this thing, so we can give any other thing. So only thing is whatever we mention over there. So plugins would be we can download, and then with that plugins we can execute uh, this thing. So Selenium and Jenkins, if we have, we can execute this pom.xml from Jenkins. So it's not specific to language, I would say.
Okay, Pradeep, thank you.
Yeah.
Pradeep, if you don't mind, this time
Yeah.
I don't have any doubts. So in case in my practice time you have any doubts, so I will clarify to. I will call to you. I will
Yeah, yeah,
send
you
to your.
can. You can contact me, or you can send your query on this email address as well, pradeepdawalji@gmail.com. To this email address, if you can send, and then whenever I get time, I'll just have a look and try to
Uh,
clarify your doubt.
okay, thank you, Pradeep.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Soumya, so you have asked about performance testing. So performance testing, we generally do it using the other tools, which is JMeter and Neoload. I've done using those tools, and performance testing, again, it would be a different topic. So this is just the automation part. So for performance testing, we need other tools like Neoload and then JMeter. On that application, we do performance testing. So what's performance testing? Basically load testing or performance testing. So for an application, if we have designed some, like that application is designed for some users, and let's say 100 or 1000, and then load testing if we do, over 1,000 users, if someone is accessing, what happens to the application is what that behavior we want to see. So that load testing, that performance testing is also. So when 1,000 users are there, when 1,000 users are on the application, when they are using some modules of our application like login, like registration page, transaction page, so the how the application is behaving we would see. So we would get some metrics, we define that and we see that. So uh, that is completely different one, I would say, Soumya. So yeah, let's not go that deep about that performance. So this is completely to automation testing, right? So let's keep it that way.
Pradeep, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think Redmine is one of the tracking issue tool. I think.
Oh, wait. Spell
You
it.
have
Red,
any
red,
RED
RED,
MINE?
MINE, Red Mind tool. So
Yes.
we haven't, I haven't used this tool, and this is seems project management tool. So which means project management tool. If it is, then we have Jira over there. Jira is a project management tool which we used, and what defects or bugs we have, and any documentation, project related stuff we store, we keep that in Jira. So that wiki we would have. So I guess the Redmi is something similar to Jira, wherein we
Jira.
can
Okay.
track the bug, defects, bugs,
Hmm.
issues, and yeah, all the project related details stuff we keep it there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pradeep.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any doubts? Can you show Jira report for test cases? That's again in the manual testing is what we get it Jira. So here, if you go to, it's not completely part of automation, but Jira sample reports. We have this confluence in that, and wiki. We have some screenshots. So for that, again, we have different tools which we have to download, install, and then use it. So I generally don't have that in my system, but some organizations would use it. So yeah, so I guess I don't find anything to show here. That Jira thing is again different one. Any other questions? So this documentation part and all, I guess with this, if we are clear, we are good to close then. So any other
Pradeep,
questions? Any? Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Tell
I
me.
have a doubt. Maximum we collect the in Selenium tickets Jira.
Sorry, what is that?
In Selenium automation testing,
Yeah.
tickets collecting in Jira maximum. I think.
Yeah, mostly the Jiras would reporting bug if you want to report a bug or create some ticket. So most of the companies uses Jira, and some uses Azure, some uses different tool. So yeah, day-to-day activity is also captured in that Jira tool or the Azure.
Okay.
Anything else?
Uh, Thank you, Pradeep.
Okay, Murli. If there are no further questions, then I guess we are good to close. So, and thank you guys for your time, and yeah, we are done with this sessions. Thank you so much.